Hello, I'm Mary and I'm the knitting designer and podcaster behind Kino Knits. This is my questions and answers shawl. It is a 2-color shawl designed to maximize your yardage, and it ends up being a nice big generous asymmetrical triangle. The cool thing about this is despite these bold wide stripes, you don't have any ends to weave in. You just have 4, the ones at the beginning and the ones at the end. And that comes from this edging that is twisted, these twisted garter strips. The pattern specifies that you need to be sure and twist in the same direction every time, but what happens if you mess that up and you don't notice it until later and you don't want to rip the whole thing out? Go ahead, finish out your shawl with the strip twisted in the wrong direction, and I'm going to show you now how to fix it after the fact. Okay, first step is identify where your error is. As you can see here, I have twisted in the same direction along this edge. I've done the same on the other edge, going from the outside to the inside, outside in, until I got to here, where for some reason I went inside out, and it throws off the whole thing. Now I realize this is going to be a little hard to see since I'm in a dark yarn, and I should have planned this a little better, but let's just say I didn't plan to make this mistake at all. So we're going to work with what we've got. So now that I've identified where it is, I need step 2, identify my materials. Step 2, I regret to inform you, involves scissors. You're going to cut your knitting. You're also going to need 2 double-pointed needles, the same size or smaller as what you use to knit the shawl. That's going to hold your live stitches after you cut them. You're going to need a tapestry needle, something to graft up what you've cut when you're done. And you're going to need some spare yarn in the same color that you're trying to fix. This is a shawl that's designed to maximize your yardage. That little ball is what I ended up with when I was done. So save that if you need to fix a mistake. Step 3, we're going to do setup. So I found the place where I have my mistake, and somewhere in the middle of that spot, I'm going to go ahead and just on a random row, pick up all the stitches on a row with my double pointed needle. So that should be 6 stitches on your needle. And then I'm going to take my other needle, I'm going to skip a row, and I'm going to go down 2 rows. So skip 1 row, and then in the next row, once again, I'm going to pick up 6 stitches with my other double pointed needle. Once I've got those secure, step 4, cutting. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to very carefully, in the row in between the needles, one of those middle stitches, I'm just going to snip 1 stitch. I believe that's it. I think I got the whole thing. I'm going to use my tapestry needle to unpick the row that I just cut. And of course the hope is that only that row comes apart. So be very careful when you're slicing into your shawl, please. Okay, now that I've got that loose, I'm ready for the next step, fixing the twist. So this twist should have gone in this direction instead. And if I put these back together, I've still got a tail on each side, but I'm twisted in the correct direction now. And now we're ready to fix. I'm going to take my 2 ends, they're twisted correctly, and I'm going to hold the back sides of the strips together. I'm going to take my spare yarn on a tapestry needle, and I'm going to Kitchener this together exactly as if it were the toe of a sock. So I want to leave a bit of a tail here at the end. I don't want to pull all the way through because I'm going to need to weave in that end later. And I want to be careful not to get tangled in with the ends that I unpicked from the shawl when I cut it. So I will just Kitchener this real quick. All right. And now I have fixed it. It is twisting in the correct direction, and all I have to do is weave in these ends. And that's basically it. I now have the garter strip twisted in the correct direction. I've got these 4 ends that I'll need to weave in. You can find this shawl, this pattern, in the Kino Knits Ravelry store. I'll put the link down below. It's called Questions and Answers and is good for flexible yardage, but 2 skeins of sock yarn are ideal and will make you a nice decent sized shawl. Thank you so much for joining me.